No, the real reason why he ran was because he's a narcissistic piece of shit. And as much as we joke about Hillary Clinton, it's my time, it's her time, it's her time. That's precisely the reason why Joe Brandon ran. Because he said, I've been a fucking career institutionalist. I'm going to get my fucking licks in. Okay? And that's precisely what happened. And that's precisely the reason why he's not dropping out today. I need you to understand.
We are expecting here White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre to take the podium any minute, and we expect that it is going to be yet another very tough White House press briefing. Just to remind you, yesterday she, of course, confronted a barrage of questions about the president's health, about the release of potentially more medical records or any other information that could give us a better sense about the state of his health, and even questions about whether Dr. Kevin O'Connor, the president's physician, could be somebody who could take questions from reporters. So we do expect those lines of questioning to continue. And of course, all of this is coming with the new reporting that President Biden has privately acknowledged to an ally that he understands that the next couple of days, the next stretch of days is going to be incredibly important in terms of whether or not he can actually save his candidacy. And what I think is interesting, Boris, to note is that we are seeing the president finally starting to get a little bit more involved himself in the conversations that he is having in private with lawmakers. He is, of course, hosting some Democratic governors who had expressed concerns about his age and the viability of his candidacy. And then, of course, there's that big interview that he is doing on Friday with ABC News, not to mention the press conference that the White House has been talking about that he will participate in next week at the NATO summit. So we'll see how the White House answers.
This is so funny because he's going to knock out the ABC interview. He might have like one kind of off moment, but he's going to fucking cook up the ABC interview. And then every one of the most annoying Democratic Party fucking mouthpieces, the loyalists who did not actually say Biden should drop out because they're careerist pieces of shit who don't give a fuck about the future of the Democratic Party, nor the future of American democracy, really, and only care about their career prospects, are going to chirp about it endlessly. Okay. Meanwhile, it's not going to move the needle. 80% of the country think he's too old. What a ridiculous crock of shit this is, dude. The only reason why Biden isn't dropping out currently is because it's not even that he wants to go through the finish line. It's that he wants to qualify. Okay. They're trying to push his ass through the qualifiers so that he can't be a fucking replacement. So that there's no contest, that there's no replacement opportunity whatsoever. And every day that passes by is another day wasted. They're running the clock. The thing is, if you've been watching this, as I have, and as many in this community has, you already know. You already know that they've been running the clock. The problem is now the media can't hide it any longer. They're not even interested in hiding it any longer. They're just fucking lasering him. And that's the problem now for the Democratic Party and for the Biden reelection. That's it. Their campaign strategy thus far quite literally was to stop Biden from having too many press moments because they knew what it was. They knew that they were rolling out a fucking carcass. By the way, that was the campaign strategy for the 2020 election as well, the primaries. They literally did that shit in the fucking primaries, man. And he got a major boost from Jim Clyburn, okay? And then, of course, like, when Jim Clyburn says, like, that's my guy, there's an entire operation associated with that is going to secure the black vote in the USC is what I keep trying to say. South Carolina. There's no amount of door knocking you can do to go against that. When every black church is saying, hey, the most committed voting bloc of the Democratic Party, you guys get to pick the president. And guess what? You're picking Joe Biden. Doesn't matter that South Carolina is literally a fucking plus 11 red state. Ultimately, once that shit happened, the media immediately was like, oh my God, what a shock. Joe Biden won South Carolina as expected. And then the rest is history. But ultimately, that's how he won. That's how he won the primary. And then he won the election because COVID happened. Like God was fucking helping him. Okay? It wasn't just Jim Clyburn. It was fucking God. Okay? It was a once in a lifetime biblical style, like pandemic epidemiological incident, dude. What are we talking about? I've never seen someone get so many hard carries. And then Roe v. Wade happens. Finally, Donald Trump Supreme Court turns around and actually follows through on their 35-year project, their 40-year project, their massive commitment to undermining women's bodily autonomy. And then the midterms that are supposed to be a fucking red wave because of negative real wage growth that Americans experienced for 2 fucking years for the most part, all of a sudden turns into a battle for civil liberties and bodily autonomy for women. Boom. Another fucking hard carry. Not a single one of these instances was Joe Biden's doing. Joe Biden is not God. He didn't fucking make COVID. Okay? Joe Biden is not himself securing the South Carolina primary vote. Joe Biden won Super Tuesday after getting carried by the entire Democratic Party. Primary candidates dropping out to endorse him after phone calls from Barack Obama. He got carried by Obama in that situation. So no, I think people need to recognize something fundamentally important here. It's not just that Joe Biden is old, okay? Joe Biden is a fucking failure. Like personally, sure, his administration I would consider to be significantly more progressive with the exception of Israel. Do not start with that. Obviously, I'm just, I'm putting that on a separate point there because that's foreign policy for the most part. That's bipartisan and genocidal. But on the domestic front, Joe Biden is probably one of the most pro-labor contemporary politicians out there, if not the most pro-labor. These are statements that I felt confident making before October 7th. On moments where we talk about labor policy, on moments where we talk about like Biden's, domestic policy prescriptions, with the exception of immigration, which is yet another fucking insane flub from Brandon because he's an absolute dumbass and I fucking hate him. Ultimately, beyond the legislative agenda being more progressive than Barack Obama's, even by a wide margin, especially as it pertains to labor. Ultimately, he's a bad fucking politician, dude. He's not a good politician. He was floated into the VP position because he's a gaffe guy, because he was known for kissing babies as a retail politician and doing gaffes. He was a goofy, somewhat racist, old white guy. And if you recall, as I have told you, vice presidential picks are supposed to be a good counter. What are your areas of weakness? If you're Barack Hussein Obama, well, it's the fact that you're black. That's a pretty big fucking hurdle for a lot of white supremacist Americans to clear. And when I say white supremacist Americans, I'm not saying like the Klan robe wearers, okay? I'm saying like your uncle or your grandparents who never forgave Obama for fucking up the country. That's because he was black. They hated him because he was black. That's it. I hate him for good reasons. They hate him because he's black and Kenyan and a Muslim. I love him because he's Kenyan and Muslim. They hate him for that reason. Anyway, my point is, Biden was elevated to the position of VP, which gave him the additional bona fides, the additional confidence from the black voting bloc in South Carolina as Obama's vice president. But the real reason why he was picked as Obama's vice president, another moment of elevation in his political career, full of L's. Anytime Biden has put himself out there on his own, he's taken L's. I'm not just talking about the fact that like his entire family's dead. Anyone who's ever talked to keeps mysteriously dying. He's the fucking griever in chief or anything like that. I'm talking specifically on pure politics. Joe Biden is a bad politician because he is a fucking hack. What do I mean by this? Comedians who are hacks do one thing. They repeat bottom of the barrel, lowest common denominator jokes. Politicians who are fucking hacks do a similar thing in the realm of politics. They look at focus testing and they go for smack dab in the fucking middle of that and consistently retriangulate their position right into the fucking center. Okay? That is Biden to a fucking T. A nonsensical, idiotic, loser. His entire career is riddled with finding the center and dialing the fuck in. Are we actually, yeah, except for Israel. That is a weird ideological commitment that he has to Israel. Your knuckle need, but I need to be feeling that wrist, son. What does that even mean? Which Joe Biden is your favorite? In 1991, attacked Anita Hill. 1994, wrote disastrous crime bill. 1995, wrote omnibus counterterrorism act, later became Patriot Act. 1996, voted against gay marriage. 1999, repealed Glass-Steagall Act. 2001, voted for the Patriot Act. 2002, voted for Iraq War. 2005, voted to end bankruptcy protections for students. 2024, complicit in genocide and rise of the far right. Yeah, I mean, this is just nothing. This is like reductive. It's basically the fucking high notes. Or I guess the low notes. But Biden has always been a firm, committed centrist because he rarely ever has real positions on his own. Biden and his motivations can perhaps be best understood in a not so dissimilar way to Donald Trump. Narcissism. He feels like he has been treated wrong and been called a fucking loser his entire political career. And that's because he is a fucking loser. Okay? He was a fucking loser when in 2016, Barack Obama called him up and said, "Don't fucking run, Joe." Now, I go back on that because I think in 2016, if Joe Biden was a candidate, Donald Trump would not have been president. But that's besides the point. We're not going to talk about that right now. But when Barack Obama called him up and said, "Hey, Joe, you don't want to finish third place behind Hillary Clinton, or you don't want to finish third place behind Bernie Sanders in a fucking Iowa motel. You know, your son just died. Take a fucking day off. Don't do this. You don't want to get that call that you got fucking third place in a goddamn Iowa motel sitting in a fucking empty conference room." That's what Obama told him. So he dropped out in 2016. Big mistake for America. Big mistake for the Democratic Party. That's besides the point. You know, I apologize. I was also an advocate for Joe Biden dropping out. But, you know, looking back at it now, obviously it's much easier. Hindsight is 2020. Joe Brandon would have absolutely fucking, I mean, if he became the candidate, he absolutely would have destroyed Donald Trump. 2016 Joe Brandon. Overall, he lost. He ran for president time and time again since the fucking 80s, and he lost. He got elevated to vice president, used that momentum to try to run for president again, 2016. His fucking own president said, "Don't do that." Okay? And he dropped out. 2020, he runs after Charlottesville. Charlottesville really motivated him. You know, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to defeat American Nazism," whatever the fuck he's saying. No, the real reason why he ran was because he's a narcissistic piece of shit. And as much as we joke about Hillary Clinton, it's my time, it's her time, it's her time. That's precisely the reason why Joe Brandon ran. Because he said, "I've been a fucking career institutionalist. I'm going to get my fucking licks in." Okay? And that's precisely what happened. And that's precisely the reason why he's not dropping out today. I need you to understand. The reason why he's not dropping out today is because in his mind, he is very, and I mean very thin-skinned about the way people are treating him currently. He is in that situation no different than Donald Trump. It's all ego. Because if democracy was really on the fucking ballot, as I have said time and time again, if democracy truly was on the fucking ballot, you really think we have to preserve the ego of a 850-year-old carcass, a cadaver? Fuck them. So which is it? Is Donald Trump not actually going to destroy American democracy? Theoretical democracy. America's never really had a real democracy. Let's be real. No practical democracy, but a theoretical one. But is Donald Trump going to eviscerate the remainder of civil liberties and turn the tide and finally bring forth the Fourth Reich? Because while the Nazis lost in World War II, fascism did win, and America has been carrying that torch for many, many years. And Trump will be the finalizer. The great conquest of the Fourth Reich will come with Donald Trump's second term. 6'5" socialist, you are so annoying, lol. Okay, but not as annoying as the top of the hour ad break. Bro, it's 12:46. You all right? It's 12:46, my man. What are we doing here? What in the hell are we doing here, big dog? What in tarnation? That's crazy. That's a two-parter, and this motherfucker tried to hit me at 12:46. Hit that with a day off, mods. Sorry. We got to fucking put some penalties up in this bitch if we want better baits. I don't make the rules. Not a week, a day off. Anyway, I was on my fucking game too. I was monologuing pretty goddamn hard. Where the fuck was I? YouTube video ruined? Yeah, well, I'm talking about the contents of the YouTube video anyway. Just chill out. Yeah, as I was saying, if democracy is on the fucking ballot, then we cannot succumb to the narcissistic desires and the vindictive, selfish, petulant attitude of a demented, senile person. It's one or the other. Is democracy actually on the fucking ballot? Because if so, we can't do that. Or are we actually saying it's his turn? Again, he's done so much. Don't hurt his little fucking feelings. He's done so much for America. He's been a senator for 700 years. He was there when the founding happened. He was one of the original framers in the background. So he deserves to be president. And if that's your attitude, then you can't say Donald Trump is going to destroy this country. Okay? You can't. Because if the stakes are that high, you have to meet the stakes. You can't just fucking roll out the cadaver and be like, listen, 80% of the country says, 80% of Democrats say he needs to go, but we're just not going to listen to them. We're going to put forward a weaker candidate. And we're talking about this as Trump expands his lead over Biden after debate as age worries grow. Wall Street Journal poll finds. Byline. The former president, or not byline, the subtitle. The former president is now ahead by 6 points with 80% of voters saying the incumbent is too old to run. 80% of voters. That's why I said this is a repeat of 2016, not a repeat of 2020. Okay? It's a repeat in 2016 in many ways. Many of the voters said Hillary Clinton is unlikable. Hillary Clinton, a lot of people are not going to vote for her. Hillary Clinton doesn't go to Wisconsin. What the fuck's that about? And Hillary Clinton was doing much better in the polls in 2016. Okay? Hillary Clinton was doing much better in the polls. Biden is not. Biden has been consistently fucking losing. Consistently. Biden's approval rating is in the shitter. What percentage do we have to get to where the Democratic Party does the right thing? Does it have to be 90%? Does it have to be 92%? Does it have to be 99%? Or will it matter if it's 100% of voters? What is this? This ruined my day? Why would this ruin your day? Big honker jank. If the Democratic Party does not listen to the calls from the voters at 80%, they're not going to listen to it at 100%. They're just not.
All of the questions that we are expecting it to get again today. But again, it is important to sort of emphasize the moment that we are in. This is a White House and a campaign that is very much in crisis mode, and they are also in survival mode right now, Boris.
And Jeff, you have new reporting that privately a growing number of Democrats want Biden to drop out of the race, some as early as this week.
Boris, there has been a really growing swell of sentiment that it is time to move on with this. We've heard a bit of it publicly from
Have you seen I Show Speed confrontation in Poland with Gnome Wizard? No, but I have seen I Show Speed in Poland on my TikTok timeline, and it was pretty funny. The least racist Polish man, I would dare I say the most anti-racist Polish man, was side by side with I Show Speed. But we'll talk about that in a second.
Congressman Lloyd Doggett of Texas and many others behind the scenes are saying a similar thing, that it is time, yes, they respect and appreciate the president's record, but it is also time to really see what is going on here. Now, the president, we are told in his campaign, both Jeff Zients, the White House chief of staff, as MJ was saying, and the campaign manager, they're hosting separate staff calls and trying to urge people to stay focused. Hard to stay focused, though, of course, on this when there are these growing calls. The most important meeting of the day, that lunch that is going on right now with the president and the vice president, and that meeting of governors this evening. Democratic governors flying to Washington, virtually all of them, all of the main ones, some of them who could be considered also candidates to meet with the president. So you get the sense, the feeling that so much has changed in 24 hours. Patience is wearing very thin, and time is running out to make something of a move. However, it is still Biden's decision to make. So as MJ was saying, I'm told privately, he has said that he does not want to drag down the Democratic ticket, but but has not yet reached the point of making a decision.
Yeah, time is of the essence when making this kind of decision. There's actually
time is of the essence, and the Democratic Party knows that, and that's why they're fucking literally pushing it. They're pushing it closer and closer to convention, and even trying to literally figure out ways of like announcing the presidential bid before the fucking convention, because their goal right now isn't to get Brandon over the finish line. Their goal right now is to get Brandon over the convention where he accepts the nomination so that it is the point of no return. After that, they perceive that because the Republican Party is legitimately awful and in way more transparent, unavoidable ways, unlike the top of the hour ad break, which is avoidable, by the way. That's right. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, and you can avoid seeing those ads as long as you subscribe. What? All DNC talking points for convention nomination rules? Yeah.
Nothing I do is performative. So I'm not going to, for instance, I'll use Hasan as an example. I'm not going to talk to a black person like Trihex and say, hey, the N-word, it's always What do you think, black people?
What a liar, dude. What a Weasley little liar, dude. What a Weasley little liar, dude. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit, dude. Literally lying. Still lying to his audience. Can someone at least enlighten Destiny that he's literally lying to his audience? What a piece of shit, dude. Holy shit. America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it.
We're there to partner with them. We're not there doing our own thing. We're there partnering and training
In a video
and
game.
equipping and enhancing their capabilities. So that's part of what we're doing. And the other part is just knowledge. We want to know what's happening.
Like, we totally brought it on ourselves, dude. Holy shit. We did. We did in a video game.
Amazing.